हेलो लर्नर्स, वेलकम टू NIOS। आज के इस सेशन के लिए मैं रचिता मांगलिक आपके साथ हूं और आज हम चर्चा करेंगे कस्टमर सर्विस पर। लर्नर्स, customer service nowadays has become so popular and important that whether it is a product or a service, each and every business is adding few customer services which are important so that customers will feel happy. Whether you buy an electronic product or you open a bank account, whatever sort of product or services you buy, you always get some pre-sales assistance and some post-sale assistance. जिस तरीके से जब आप कार खरीदने जाते हैं तो कार से पहले आपको एक टेस्ट ड्राइव मिलती है और कार खरीदने के बाद आपको उससे मेंटेनेंस से और सर्विसेज से रिलेटेड बहुत सारी फैसिलिटीज कंपनी की ओर से मिलती हैं, तो इसी को हम रखते हैं कस्टमर सर्विस की कैटेगरी में। जैसे जैसे हमारे इकोनॉमी में सर्विस सेक्टर इम्प्रूव होता गया, उसका शेयर बढ़ता गया, वैसे वैसे जो कस्टमर सर्विसेज की रिक्वायरमेंट है वो भी बढ़ती गई। अगर हम अभी प्रेजेंट टाइम में अपने कंट्री की डेमोग्राफी पर ध्यान दें तो हम ये जानेंगे दैट इन रीसेंट फ्यू इयर्स दैट डेमोग्राफी हैज चेंज्ड वेरी मच. Now the education level, the awareness level and the purchasing pattern of people has changed very much. So due to these basic changes, our needs for services have also changed. And that's why nowadays no company can expect to survive without offering the right sort of customer services to its customers. So let's understand what are customer services and how you can seek a good career in this area. So customer service nowadays is most important factor for companies to differentiate them from their competitors. You can easily differentiate two companies, one which is offering good customer services and the other one which is not offering so good services. You can easily differentiate that who will be performing well. So services is the process of ensuring customer satisfaction. Companies offer customer services so that their customers will feel happy, they will be satisfied and their queries and problems will be sorted in time. So for example, updating details or database, sorting queries, making arrangements or supports, they all come under customer service. So anything that companies do for customers to enhance their customer experience is included under customer service. Whether it is calling the customers to give them information, issuing them easy return policy, giving them various options for choosing, and even the map that we use, updating map is also a kind of customer service. When you go to the doctor and you receive a call from the reception or the office of the doctor to check bookings and to check whether you have recovered from the illness or not, that is also a customer service. So every customer has certain expectations and customer service fulfills those expectations so that customers will be satisfied and they will be delighted. So this is the role of customer service. Now, looking from the career perspective, because customer service is most important, has become most important for every sort of industry, whether it is a product industry or a service industry. So there are many career prospects in this area. So considering it a good career option, we will talk of the skills that you should be developing in order to become a good customer service representative. So let's understand those skills. First and foremost customer service skill is patience. You can very well understand that customers might be angry at times, they might be irritated at times, and they might be rude also. So to understand their queries, to handle those customers, customer service representatives have to deal those customers with a lot of patience. So listening to the queries and answering them with the right sort of solution is all matter of patience. So patience is a very important skill. Then attentiveness. Listening to the queries and listening to all the details that customer is offering, customer is providing, it takes attention. So customer service people have to listen attentively. So active listening is the another most important skill. Communication skills, although they are important in every sort of career, in any career options, but for customer service people, because their whole sole job is about communicating with people, so communication skills are very much important to them. And in this session further, we will also talk about communication skills in detail. Then product knowledge. With the company for which you are working, you have to have product knowledge to sort customer queries. If customer is not able to use the product properly, or if customer is not able to understand few features or functions of the product, in that case you yourself should be able, you should be having that knowledge, then only you will be able to answer those queries and guide the customer to do it the right way. So product knowledge is important. And apart from sorting queries, at times customer service people call their customers to provide information about the products. So again, to provide information, product knowledge will be useful. Then ability to use positive language. Everybody likes positive language and positive attitude. But because in adverse situation it becomes difficult to carry on with that attitude, customer service people are supposed to, they should be using positive language even if the situation is negative. So they should paraphrase or they should articulate their sentences, their speech in such a way that it should be received in a positive manner. And not only with customers, in fact with their co-employees, their co-workers, they should use positive language so that their attitude towards the work will remain positive. The another sort of skills are acting skills. At time, you need to act upon certain situations, or you need to understand the customer situation, and accordingly you have to portray yourself to and to empathize with the customer. So for that matter, acting skills also are useful. Time management skills. Time management skills for customer service people are important because they have to take care of their call duration timings. Or if they are attending a customer one-to-one on person-to-person basis, in that scenario they have to effectively minimize or optimize the time taken to solve the query. So to manage or to efficiently optimize that time taken to answer the query or to solve the query, time management skills are important. And along with managing time, they also have to work on their follow-up skills. For example, if as a salesperson, if salesperson has promised the customer to call back in a certain time period, they should remember this, they should keep a note of it, and they must actually give a call to the customer and keep their words. Further skills are ability to read customer. When customer service people are attending customers, they should not only listen to the thoughts of customer, but they should also understand the emotions of the customer. If some customer is agitated, feeling agitated, in that scenario, the customer service personnel should be able to understand the situation of the customer. Then only he or she will be able to empathize with the customer and seek answer for his queries. Calming presence, goal-oriented focus, and ability to handle surprises are few other skills. And apart from it, persuasion is also very important. Customer service people do not only solve queries, they also give calls, they also make calls to customers in order to cross-sell or upsell the products and services. So to convince customers to buy certain services or to sign up for certain services, persuasion skills are important. Closing ability and willingness to learn are also important, because closing ability, a good closing of a call, a good closing of a lead actually proves that the customer is satisfied and happy with the solution. So right kind of closing helps the person to identify if there are any further queries, and willingness to learn helps them to keep updated in today's environment. So these are few of the skills that customer service people should have. Now let's understand that how every service that the customer service people offer, how that can be made fantastic. So we will understand it through one equation known as fantastic service equation. Fantastic service equation has few ingredients, or you can say steps, out of which first is greeting the customer, determining needs, then meeting their needs, making the moment memorable, checking results, leaving the door open. So these are few of the steps that should be taken carefully in order to make the service experience fantastic. Let's understand these one by one. First of the ingredient, or first of the step to offer fantastic service is greeting customer. When you meet somebody or when you meet a customer, whether it is in person or through technology over phone or video conferencing, greeting is very important. Greeting, an appropriate greeting, sets the tone for further conversation. If the customer is not greeted properly, he or she will not feel welcomed, and he will or she might become hesitant to share their problems or queries. Although there are various ways of greeting the customer, for example, when if it is a store and customer enters the store, so opening the door for the customer is also a way of greeting. Bowing a little bit and wishing hello is also a kind of greeting. So usually there are few statements which are popularly used. For example, hello sir or hello ma'am, how may I help you? That is the popular greeting style. So greeting is important, and while greeting the customer, the customer service personnel should maintain a smile on face, and they should maintain a positive body gesture. When greeting is done well, the second step is determining need or identification of need. Usually customers are already ready to tell what they need, but at times customer service people might need to identify the reason of their call, because at times customers do not exactly know the problem. They only are able to tell what is the problem they are facing, but actual problem they might not be able to tell. So customer service people have to identify those needs. To identify those needs, the executive has to ask questions from the customer. So in order to ask questions, if you are seeking more, if the executive is expecting or is seeking explanatory responses, then they should ask open-ended question. And if you supposed to get, or if you expect to get fixed answers like in yes or no or maybe, in that scenario you should go for close-ended questions. If customer is speaking too much and they are very much explanatory, then also you can use close-ended questions to ascertain their specific needs. For determining needs, there are certain set of skills that is important. Apart from asking right questions, listening skills are also very important. So to develop listening skills, the executive should be able to concentrate properly and listen actively about what customer is saying. Apart from active listening, executive can paraphrase what customer has said. So through paraphrasing, executive will ensure that the message or the information which customer has given is understood properly by the executive, so that the solution is appropriate in first instance itself. After determination of needs, the next step which comes is meeting of those needs. If needs are determined properly but solution is not given, in that scenario, customer will not be happy and the service will not be fantastic. So to meet their needs, the office personnel or the service personnel should be on their toes to find the solution, and in case if you do not have the solution, if the customer service personnel does not have the solution, then you can even request the customer to wait for some time while you look for the right answer. It is okay to delay the call, or it is okay to request to wait for a little time in case you are taking long time to find the solution. So in that scenario, ask the customer that you will be calling back to them in a given time duration. Give them a certain time duration so that they will be assured that yes, you are looking for the solution and you will be calling them back. Then you can connect the right person who has the solution, and then you can call back to the customer. There is one more scenario. There is a case that customer has called to you, but his or her query is actually related to some other department. So telling the customer that he or she has called in the wrong department is the wrong method to answer. Rather, you should be able to connect the customer in the right department for sorting out his problem. So rather than denying him the service, you should connect him into the right channel. So this way, needs are met. After meeting the needs, the another step is making the moment memorable. See, every service might not be a good service and every service might not be a satisfactory service. But at times, beyond the specific functions, if you go an extra mile for the customer, then that moment becomes memorable for the customer, and that customer will always have a positive word of mouth for that particular step that you have taken. For example, when a customer reaches the store, let's suppose that was the time of closing the store. So when customer reached, the person actually waited and let the customer select things for 10 minutes and then billed the staff. Because customer said that it is an urgent situation. So that customer will always praise that you took an extra mile, you took an extra effort to fulfill his needs. So by these small functions or by these small tasks, you can make the customer experience memorable for forever. This is not necessary that you will be able to make every lead or every experience memorable, but yes, if there is a chance to make it memorable, you should do it. The next step towards the fantastic service is checking results. A customer approached the customer service department with a problem, and the customer service department has solved the query. But before closing the call, before closing off with the customer, the person or the executive should always confirm if there is something else the customer can be helped with. So when you are closing the call, before closing, just ask the customer if he or she has some other requirements, or whether the need with which he or she called or connected, that has been satisfied or not. Checking result actually helps to ensure that the problem has been solved and the customer is satisfied. Post checking the result, the next and the final step for fantastic service is leaving the door open. Every company is looking for those customers who are loyal to them. So in order to make loyal customers, companies should always make them feel that they are always invited. So whenever a customer connects with the company at any platform, after checking the results, there should always, company or company personnel should always make sure that they are inviting customers for further queries, further purchase, or for any reason they will always welcome the customer. For example, when you go to the store and after shopping, when you are leaving the store, they say, "Thank you for visiting us," or then they say that, "Give us this chance once again." So this is the way of leaving the door open for the next visit. So to become a successful customer service person or customer service executive, always make sure that you are following these steps. Which steps? Let's take a quick recap once. Whenever you come in contact with a customer, you should greet the customer, then you should identify the reason for which customer has called, then the problem or the need with which customer has connected, that need should be satisfied. So meet the need, try to make the moment memorable, check the results whether customer has been satisfied or not, and in the end always welcome the customer for next visit or next service. So if you're taking all these steps, this is for sure that the service experience which customer will be having with you, it will be fantastic. So after this fantastic service equation, let's understand the most important skill, which is communication. For customer service personnel, for customer service executives or representatives, communication is one of the most important job skills. And communication is not only about speaking or not only about expressing your ideas, it is also about listening, it is also about reading and writing properly. So communication is a process in which information, ideas and understanding is shared between two or more people. And customer service providers must be very much proficient in all methods of communication. Nowadays, customer service executives have to use a lot of technology based equipments, because to connect with the customer, they might need to do it one-to-one or face-to-face basis. They might need to deal with the customers on telephone. They might need to deal with the customers or take the call through video conferencing. So they have to use various methods depending on the need or work style of the company. So they should be good in all methods of communication. In further discussion, we will talk that what are the methods of communication and how a person can learn them better. So communication is a two-way process. Communication, and there are two parties. One is a sender of the message and another one is receiver of the message. These two parties complete the communication process. The sender of the message prepares the message, and that message is encoded in an understandable language. After converting it into a language, it is transmitted through a channel. The message is transmitted through a channel. For example, if those two people, sender and receiver, they are talking face to face in person, the channel is the face to face. If they are talking over phone, then telephone is the channel. If they are talking or communicating over internet through email, then internet is the channel. So the encoded message is sent through the channel to receiver, and receiver, after receiving the message, he or she decodes the message. Decoding is understanding the language. After decoding, receiver gets the message and receiver should give a feedback to the sender so that sender will be ensured that the message has been received by the right person and with the right intent. तो मैसेज जिस इंटेंशन से, जिस मीनिंग के साथ भेजा गया था रिसीवर के पास, वो उस सेम मीनिंग में रिसीवर के पास रिसीव हुआ है, इसको इंश्योर करने के लिए रिसीवर सेंडर को फीडबैक देता है. एंड इन ऑल ऑफ दिस प्रोसेस देयर इज नॉइस इन द बैकग्राउंड. दैट नॉइस कैन बी सेंडर्स personal thoughts or receiver's personal thought, and that noise can be within the channel due to technology, or it can also be a noise existing in the environment. For example, when you are listening to this program, there might be some other sounds going on in your surrounding. So those sounds are acting as a noise in this communication. So this is the complete communication process which takes place every time when sender gives a message to the receiver. So we will discuss it further after the break. See you all after the short break.
करने राहों को आलोकित करने, जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने। धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो, धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो, कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो, कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो, मित्रों हम उठे और जागे, मंजिल आने की ध्वनि सुने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने। बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर दुनिया में इसके केंद्र बात कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने,
वेलकम लर्नर्स। ब्रेक के बाद हम फिर आपके साथ हैं इस सेशन को लेकर। मैं रचिता मांगलिक और आज हम बात कर रहे हैं कस्टमर सर्विस के बारे में। तो ब्रेक पर जाने से पहले हमने बात की कि किस तरह कस्टमर सर्विस एक ज़रूरी हिस्सा बन गया है हर कंपनी का, चाहे वो प्रोडक्ट सेल करती हो या सर्विसेज ऑफर करती हो। लेकिन कस्टमर सर्विस आज के समय में हर कंपनी को अपने कस्टमर्स को देनी ही पड़ती है, क्योंकि कस्टमर सर्विस एक डिफरेंशिएटर की तरह है जो कस्टमर्स के एक्सपीरियंस को पॉजिटिव बनाती है और उनके सेटिस्फेक्शन लेवल को इंक्रीज करती है। फिर हमने बात की कि कौन कौन सी स्किल्स हैं जो एक अच्छे कस्टमर सर्विस पर्सनल में होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि कस्टमर सर्विस सभी कंपनीज में मैंडेटरी है। तो बहुत सारी जॉब्स मार्केट में इस फील्ड के लिए अवेलेबल हैं। तो इस डायरेक्शन में अगर आप अपने करियर ऑप्शंस ढूंढ रहे हैं या इस ओर अपना करियर बनाना चाहते हैं, तो कुछ स्किल्स हमने जानी जिनके थ्रू आप अपना करियर इसमें चुन सकते हैं और साथ ही अपनी एक्सपर्टीज इस ओर डेवलप कर सकते हैं। उन स्किल्स में कुछ एग्जाम्पल्स थे: communication skills, ability to use positive language, developing good first impression, casting good first impression, and managing time properly, keeping promises, and a few other skills. And after that, we also learned about fantastic service, which any customer service person can use to make his or her call very effective. There were 6 steps in fantastic service. So whenever you meet a customer or a customer connects to you, you should be greeting them, then you should identify their needs, you should solve their queries and or meet their needs, try to make the moment memorable for the customer, check the results before closing the call, and always leave the door open for the customer for further interactions. So this way, if you follow these steps, you can easily give good customer service to each customer. Then we started talking about communication and continuing with it. So communication is exchange of ideas or understanding between two or more people. And in communication process, there are two parties. One is sender of the message, other one is receiver of the message. And there is noise when the message is shared from sender to receiver. Now, taking this discussion forward, let us understand that what are the efficiency parameters for any communication. So we call it 7 C's of communication. So you can also consider it a checklist. Whether you are writing to the customer, you can be writing a mail or a letter, or even if you are taking a call orally. So whether it is a written communication or it is an oral communication, all sorts of communication with the customer between the sender and receiver should have these 7 characteristics. And first of all, the message should be clear. The objective with which you are writing to the customer or with which you are communicating to the customer, that objective should be clear, and avoid using complicated words and phrases. Only use those words and phrases which are used in regular and day-to-day language. Do not use your company specific words. Do not use very difficult jargons or very difficult language. So your message should always be clear. Objective or intent of the message should be clear, and at the same time you should use simple words and simple phrases of day-to-day language. The second characteristic or the second important element is conciseness of the message. The message should be short but yes, complete. So message should be clear, but it should be to the point. Do not exaggerate the facts. Do not repeatedly say the same thing, so that in minimum of the words and minimum of the reading, the message will be clear. So avoid filling words and sentences. we at times when writing or when speaking, we at times use filling sentences, which which actually unknowingly make our message unclear. So do not use too much of filling words and sentences, and keep the message clear and to the point. The message which you are giving, it should be concrete, it should be specific. The message should not be vague. It should not use vague data. It should not exaggerate the facts. It should not give roundabout the facts. So whatever facts and figures are important to support your message, to support the content that you are sharing with the customer, only those facts and figures should be used, and those facts and figures should be correct. Correctness, that is next C of the effective communication. So if you are writing, do not make typos, typing errors. So typing errors, they are very much, they can be very much problematic at times. So make sure there are no typing errors if you are using written communication. And if it is oral communication, so whatever facts and figures you are offering, you are giving, that should be correct. And along with the message, you should also take care that who is the audience of the message. So level of the message, level of the language, it should be as per the understanding of the customer. If your customers are executives and they are highly educated, in that case the language should be very well articulated. It should be sophisticated, and it can be a little bit difficult as per their understanding level. But if you are connecting to those people who are averagely educated or they might be illiterate, in that scenario your language should match their level of understanding of the language. So your message should be clear, it should be concise, it should be specific and up to the mark. It should be correct. The other C is the message which you are sharing, it should be coherent. After, when the message is completely framed, it should make sense. It should be meaningful. So the flow of the message, the flow or the sequence of these sentences, it should be framed logically, and do not cover the message too much. If you're using too many sentences, if you're using a lot of words in your message, there is a possibility that the actual message that you're trying to convey will be shadowed by the filler messages. So it is always good to opt for a logical flow in the message and articulate message in such a way that all put together it will make sense to the reader. Whatever information you are sharing, it should be complete. Incomplete information in the message calls for further communication, and if it at times delays the objective, delays the intent of messaging. So whenever you are writing a message, make sure you are giving complete information which is required in that message. So whatever is your objective, write it completely, and if there is a call to action, if you are expecting the other person or the reader to take some action after reading your message, write it clearly. So call to action or the action which should be taken after reading the message, that action should be completely and clearly mentioned in the message. Then only the reader will be able to follow the message properly. And last and foremost, last but not the least is your message should be courteous. Always use polite language that helps to build goodwill. So ensure that the message is polite, ensure that the language you are using is courteous. In some scenarios or in some cases, you might need to use a slightly strict language. But strictness does not mean that it should not be courteous. So even if you are writing few reminders, or even if you are writing a message which should be perceived strictly, in that scenario also, in that case also, ultimately the language of the message should be courteous. So these are 7 C's of the communication: clear, concise, concrete, correct, coherent, complete, and courteous. These are 7 C's which you should be following, which everybody should be following while communicating, whether verbally or non-verbally. Now let's talk of types of communication. Although in one or the other phase of education, we have already learned so much about types of communication, here we will keep our discussion to only formal and informal communication and verbal and non-verbal communication. Formal communication is that communication which takes place within the organization for a professional purpose, for a formal or official purpose. So formal communication is usually done orally through presentations, or maybe through notices, through memos, and through reports and emails. Informal message or informal communication takes place in every institution or organization, at every place, but it is not controlled. It cannot be controlled, and it does not have a certain format. We also know informal communication in the name of viral communication or grapevine communication. The other types of communication, which is more important for this discussion today, is verbal and non-verbal communication. Verbal communication is that communication which is done or which takes place through language. So verbal communication is that communication which is done using words. And verbal communication can be divided into 2 types: oral communication and written communication. Oral communication is done through speech, when the sender and receiver, they are exchanging message by talking or speaking to each other. And written communication is done in writing. The language, it is in written mode. That written communication can be in hard form or soft form. Hard form is like notices or letters are there. There are a lot of documents through which communications are done. And in today's age, a lot of written communication takes place in soft format. For example, if you're writing an email to somebody, that is a written communication but in soft form. So writing emails, sending text messages, or chatting or texting through chatbots, they all are formats of written communication. Now, customer service people largely use oral communication and written communication in both areas. Companies are usually using both as a platform for their customers. So oral communication is established over phone, or it can be established through voice conferencing or video conferencing, and yes, face to face as well. Written communication takes place through emails, through text messages. Nowadays WhatsApp or such messengers have become very popular for companies to use them as a platform for offering service. And apart from it, there are other areas like on the company's website, there are sections, there are platforms through which customers and customer service people can interact with each other in written form. Apart from verbal communication, the other wing, which is non-verbal communication, is equally important. What happens when we are communicating, whether orally or in written form? Non-verbal communication is always interlinked in both the formats. So non-verbal communication is that communication which is done through facial expressions, gestures, body language, tone of voice. So these are few non-verbal communication methods, and non-verbal communication cannot be separated from verbal communication. They go hand in hand. And at times non-verbal communication becomes more like dominant on verbal communication. So let's understand what are the varieties of non-verbal communication that we intentionally or unknowingly use. First of it is facial expressions. When we are talking to somebody or when we are responding to the customer, at times we smile, we frown, and we use a lot of facial expressions to express our feelings. The another form is gestures. For example, waving, shaking hands, then pointing towards something, showing thumbs up. These are all gestures. Paralinguistics. When we are speaking in oral, if we talk of oral communication, then there are paralinguistics that is important. So the loudness of the voice, the changes in the tone of voice, the changes in the pitch, whether it has been said at low pitch or the higher pitch, they all cast an impact on how the message is being understood and how it is being received. So the tone of voice, whether it is low or it is high, the pitch is low or high, the loudness, usually the message which is loud is understood clearly, listened properly. Similarly, the tone of voice, an average tone of voice with appropriate modulation is important. If you are not using a tone of voice, if you are not if you are not fluctuating the tone of voice and you are keeping it stagnant at one pace or one tone, then it becomes monotonous. Then body language and postures. The way we stand, the way we move, like crossing hands, putting hands in our pockets, putting a finger or hand on chin, putting our face on chin while listening to somebody. So those are body languages and posture. And when we are talking to somebody or listening to somebody, this body language and posture actually communicates a lot about whether you are interested to listening to the message or not. Proxemics is the communicating through distance. So socially there are acceptable distances, and through that distance non-verbally a lot of information or a lot of messages are communicated. Eye contact. Eye contact is very important, and at times the speaker or the receiver of the message, they get unaware of their eye contact. So if you greet somebody, there should be appropriate eye contact. If you are showing interest to when somebody is talking, then again eye contact is important. So looking at something, looking at somebody, blinking of the eyes, staring at something or staring away from something, this eye contact also communicates a lot. Then the other non-verbal communication methods are haptics, appearance, and artifacts. If we talk artifacts traditionally, so badges, uniform are part of artifacts. Nowadays in modern age, social media avatars are also considered as artifacts. So when you opt for talking through chatbots, you usually see that there is a particular avatar that is used by the customer service personnel to showcase a more personalized service. Appearance for customer service people is very important. If it is a telephonic conversation, it might not create a direct impact, but if it is a face-to-face communication or the communication is through video conferencing, in that scenario, choice of clothes, choice of hairstyle, and the grooming and hygiene, they all come into picture. Haptics is about communicating through touch. So these are non-verbal signs or non-verbal communications that go hand in hand with verbal communication. So be it oral communication or be it written communication, non-verbal communication intentionally or unintentionally is always associated with it. So as a customer service personnel or customer service executive, you should be aware that what sort of non-verbal communication you are opting for or you are doing along with the oral and written communication that you are doing. So these are few examples of non-verbal communication. So when you smile at a stranger, when you hold a door open for the person passing by behind you, when you nod as a sign, when you say thank you, when you listen attentively when someone is talking to you, even when you are doing nothing at all, that time also non-verbal communication is taking place. When you are trying to ignore someone or when you are staring at your phone when someone is talking, which is very rude. So that is a negative non-verbal gesture. Let a door close behind on the person behind you. That is again, it's a non-verbal communication which is negative. You should not be doing it. And looking the other way when someone is approaching you to communicate. So if somebody is approaching you to talk, then you should you should be apt on talking to them, listening to them. So if you are avoiding the person, ignoring the person, yes, that is rude. So these are few of the non-verbal communications which you should be doing, like smiling at stranger, holding the door open, and which you should not be doing, like ignoring someone or staring at your phone. Let's have a quick understanding of the other methods to improve your communication is listening properly. So listening to thoughts is not the only thing which is important. Listening to emotions and listening to heart is also important for every customer service personnel. Improving your written communication is important because at times while writing the message, the other person should be able to understand the message with same intention. So intended message should be communicated. Talking is a skill. So while speaking, the kind of words you use, so those kind of words you should be using that others will be able to understand. And reading is the ability to comprehend or to understand the written words. So these are few of the skills that are important to improve communication skills further. Then there are few methods or few tips which you should opt for handling customer queries. Treat them well, ask customers a lot of questions, listen to them well, be honest and straightforward when you are answering to them, and be always willing to seek help in case you do not have the answers. So this is it for the day. Thank you so much. Keep learning and happy learning.